You ever get that feeling? The one where you know something's going to go catastrophically wrong, but you're already too knee-deep in protocol to stop it. Yeah, that was me. Kroln Draxus, Senior Conflict Auditor, Level 17 Clearance. Department of Non-Sentient to Quasi-Sentient Affairs. Don't let the title impress you. It just means I'm the poor soul who gets to sort through planetary scale blunders and figure out which species gets to say oops first. And today? Today we're filing one under stupid decisions. Bold font. Red ink. Double underline. You see, we had this idea, not my idea, mind you, Aid. I wanted to take a sabbatical on a nice sulfur-rich moon to welcome a newly uplifted species into the unified coalition of galactic civilizations. You've probably heard of them. Bipedal, squishy, noisy, partial to stabbing things that confuse them. Humans. Humans. Yes. Them. Now, the Council in all their unified wisdom, a term I use with the same sincerity I reserve for sand lice, and tax auditors thought it would be culturally enlightening to invite one human cadet to the elite interspecies training arena on Barracks 9. A gesture of goodwill. A show of cooperation. The total diplomatic olive branch. I knew it was a mistake the moment I read the name on the assignment file. Derek Flint. No extra limbs. No cybernetic implants. No psionic ancestry. Just Derek. From a place called Iowa. You could practically smell the mayonnaise. Now, let me remind you, we didn't just invite this walking protein bag to tea and crumpets. Oh no, somebody thought it'd be a fantastic idea to test him. You know, for resilience metrics. And to make it fun. They dropped him in the arena with 3 apex predator cadets from across the known sectors. You know, the kind that make black holes politely move out of their way. 3 apex predators against 1 unmodified human cadet with nothing but a duffel bag and what I can only describe as the confidence of someone who's never read the survival odds. And I'll give it to you straight, because I'm too old to sugarcoat interstellar stupidity, none of them made it past the first strike. Not one. First hit? Boom. Done. Retired. Obliterated. Medically reclassified as fleshy soup. And now I have 4,000 forms to file, and a funeral delegation to coordinate, and an emergency council meeting in 3 galactic cycles titled, and I quote, "Is Earth a threat to reality?" So yeah, if you're wondering why my mandibles are twitching and why I've replaced my nutrient paste with 80-proof engine coolant, this is why. This is the story of how Derek Flint, lone human cadet, casually sauntered into our most sacred warrior trials and turned them into a comedy sketch starring Darwin's worst nightmares. Sigh. All right, let's get this circus documented. Where was I? Oh yes. The first idiot. Barracks-9. Just saying the name out loud makes my bile ducts tighten. It's the kind of place where cadets go in with dreams of glory and come out with prosthetic limbs and haunting memories of being outwitted by something with 6 elbows. Officially, Barracks 9 is a neutral site for interspecies martial testing and cooperative defense drills. Unofficially, it's where the galaxy's deadliest spawnlings try to murder each other with excessive enthusiasm while their instructors pretend it's all part of the curriculum. So when Earth's invitation came through all shiny and optimistic, like a polite virus, we thought, sure, let's be inclusive. Why not let the soft little humans come see how real warriors train? Diplomacy and all that. They sent 1 cadet. 1. No backup, no entourage, not even a translator drone. Just Derek Flint. He arrived with a grin, a duffel bag that looked like it had seen more bar fights than a Thork rebellion, and the irritating swagger of someone who thought everything would just work out. The arena crowd, composed of 14 species and at least 3 sentient mushrooms, was less than impressed. And by less than impressed, I mean they were taking bets on which organ of his would land farthest from the main body. The other cadets? Oh, they brought out the big teeth for this one. First up, Gorgaz the Spine Ripper from Krugmal, a living siege engine with fists like meteors and a combat record that read like a planetary obituary. Gorgaz had volunteered because he wanted to feel what a human skull felt like in his palm. Charming, really? Second, Tal'ka of the Whispering Claws, from the Velrith Shadow Clan, master of stealth, sabotage, and speaking entirely in condescending hisses. Tal'ka didn't talk much, but when he did, it was in threats layered under metaphors about disembowelment. And finally, Sylik of the Mirror Hive, a cold-blooded tactician from a species of collective intellects. He once beat an entire battle simulator with nothing but a spoon and a vendetta. Watching him strategize was like witnessing a spreadsheet become sentient and start plotting murders. And there was Derek, standing alone in the center of the Gauntlet's prep zone, eating what I later identified as a snack bar called Choco Nuke, apparently not a weapon, though I have my suspicions. Now, you might be asking, wait, Kroln, wasn't this completely against regulation? Throwing 3 apex combatants against one untested species in a live combat scenario? Yes. Yes, it was. But see, that's the thing about galactic bureaucracy. If you slap enough forms on it and call it an evaluation exercise, you can get away with war crimes before lunch. No one thought Derek would survive the first 5 seconds. This wasn't supposed to be a fight. It was supposed to be an interstellar lesson in humility, a show of power, a reminder that Earth's place in the galactic pecking order was somewhere between tentacled cannon fodder and slightly aggressive furniture. What we got instead was a slow-motion catastrophe, peppered with snack wrappers and sarcasm. And as I sat in the officiator's booth, sipping lukewarm algae coffee and prepping the casualty report template, I distinctly remember muttering, "Let the games begin," under my breath. Oh, and they did. Just not the game anyone thought we were playing. There's a sound I've come to associate with impending disaster. It's the low, guttural roar of a Krugmalian berserker inhaling through 3 nostrils before a charge. Think industrial meat grinder, but angrier. Gorgaz the Spine Ripper, 10 feet tall if you didn't count the battle crest spikes, which I very much did. Armor like living volcanic rock. A jaw structure designed by something that hates symmetry and dental hygiene. And a combat history that included the phrase recreational decapitations. He stepped into the arena like a god preparing to smite the heretics. And then there was Derek. 5 foot something, hair that couldn't decide if it wanted to be combed or audition for a weather report. And that damn duffel bag slung over one shoulder like he was heading to gym class, not death. And I swear on the 6th moon of Gurlax he was eating a granola bar. He stood in the center of the battle platform, casually unwrapping the snack like he had all the time in the world and no concept of mortal peril. Crinkle, crinkle. The wrapper fluttered to the ground as Derek took a slow, exaggerated bite. Raisin, he said out loud. The crowd was silent. Even the mushrooms. Across the field, Gorgaz snarled so hard the atmosphere wobbled. You mock the ritual of blood challenge, human? He bellowed. Derek squinted at him, chewing. No, I mock your face. The ritual's just a bonus. That was not in the translator's database. I watched an entire delegation of Norg ambassadors simultaneously spit out their hydration sacks. Gorgaz, predictably charged. It was less like watching someone run and more like watching a meteor realize it had legs. Dirt exploded. Air rippled. Gorgaz's war howl shattered 3 viewing lenses. Derek? AC. He stepped to the side. That's it. Just one small, lazy sidestep, like he was dodging a slow-moving cart at a grocery store. And then it happened. Gorgaz's foot landed squarely on the granola bar wrapper. His momentum, all 1,200 pounds of it, became a physics problem, one with a very sharp solution. He skidded. He pinwheeled. He slammed, face first, into a reinforced steel support pole with a noise I can only describe as clang chunk splat. The arena trembled. Birds we hadn't even imported fell out of the sky. Silence. Silence. Total. Absolute. Then Derek looked down at the crumpled wreckage of Gorgaz's limbs twitching in a way that suggested he was currently dreaming of his mother's last stew and muttered, "Yes, he couldn't handle fiber." He took another bite of the bar. From the officiator's booth, I took a long, resigned sip from my flask and updated the combat report with 2 words. Gorgaz, incapacitated. Then I leaned back, closed my 4 eyes for a long moment, and muttered what would become my mantra for the rest of this farce. That's 1 dot now. If Gorgaz was a battering ram made of hate and bad life choices, Tal'ka of the Whispering Claws was the exact opposite: quiet, precise, and possibly made of shadows and passive aggression. The Velrith don't speak with voices. They communicate telepathically like smug, floating diaries that hate you. Their bodies are sleek, covered in bioadaptive camouflage that makes them invisible in any lighting, and their claws? Molecular sharpness. 1 flick, and you're filing your organs under miscellaneous. Tal'ka was the best of them, had once assassinated a political target during an opera and finished the aria for them so no one noticed. So obviously this was going to be a bloodbath. Entered Derek. Derek. Again. Wearing the same scuffed-up uniform, that eternally annoying duffel bag, and what's this? A can of aerosol? Derek stepped onto the arena platform, squinting up at the sky like he was checking the weather. He popped the cap off the can with his thumb and gave it a test spray. Peffeft. The scent detectable even through the booth's filters was labeled Ocean Punch, which I assume is what humans imagine the sea smells like when it's been mugged by citrus. "All right, Mr. Murder Kitty," Derek said, spinning in a circle and spraying in random arcs. "Come out and let's hug it out." Nothing. Total silence. No movement. The crowd leaned in, murmuring nervously. Some of the younger cadets put on their shielding goggles. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Then out of nowhere a loud, wet sneeze echoed through the arena. Not menacing. Not subtle. Just a big, involuntary, allergic outburst. A flicker. A shimmer. And then a fully cloaked Tal'ka stumbled into view, blinking rapidly, snout twitching. The Velrith elite assassin, invisible terror of the stars, was sneezing like an allergic toddler in spring. Turns out, aluminum chlorohydrate, the active ingredient in human deodorant, causes an aggressive histamine reaction in Velrith nasal membranes. Who knew? Derek looked up mid-spray. "Oh, there you are." Tal'ka hissed and leapt, claws extended, eyes watering. Derek calmly finished the spray with a dramatic flourish, and as the now empty can left his hand, he whipped its sidearm like a bored pitcher in the 7th inning. Thunk. Direct hit. Right on the temple. You could practically hear Tal'ka's brain rebooting before his body folded like cheap origami and collapsed to the floor. One move. One move. One aerosol-based miracle. Silence again. In the booth, I opened the emergency flask compartment. Not the usual one. The second one. The one labeled, "If this is still happening, you're not dreaming." I logged the outcome. Tal'ka, rendered unconscious via blunt object, civilian hygiene product. The medical drones rushed in. Derek just waved at them, rolled his shoulders and muttered, "Could have at least said bless you." I stared at the screen, dead-eyed. My mandibles clicked once. "That's 2, I said aloud, to no one in particular. Then I made a note to cross-reference human hygiene products in future combat briefings. Because clearly, Anything in the human arsenal was fair game, including body spray that could apparently drop elite assassins like flies at a candle convention. If you've never dealt with a second member of the Mirror Hive, congratulations, you've lived a better life than I have. Sylik wasn't a single entity in the traditional sense. He was a Node 1 sleek, silvery body housing the collective intelligence of an entire species network. Billions of minds working in seamless harmony. A living strategy engine with zero tolerance for inefficiency, emotional variance, or how did he put it? Primitive meatbags who rely on caffeine to simulate intelligence. Yes, that was his opening remark. He strolled into the arena like he owned the concept of walking. His body gleamed like polished mercury, eyes flickering with data streams. He stopped 10 feet from Derek, who was, as usual, not paying attention. Derek was sitting cross-legged on the arena floor, fiddling with something in his hands. He didn't even look up. "Are you playing with a toy?" Sylik asked, voice buzzing like a glitchy AI trying to sound condescending. Derek glanced up. "Rubik's Cube," he said. "Classic human brain torture device. You guys probably have those, or do your brains just come pre-scrambled?" There was a pause. "You possess a single brain, limited by meat and electricity. I possess the memory of entire civilizations and the tactical experience of 2,000 years of conflict," Sylik said. "Cool," Derek replied, twisting a few sides casually. "Bet I still finish this first." I watched the hive mind twitch. Sylik tilted his head. Challenge accepted. And then he sat down across from Derek, mirrored him, reached into a compartment in his chest plate and extracted an identical Rubik's Cube. Of course. Why wouldn't he carry one? Begin if Gorgaz was brute force and Tal'ka was stealth, Sylik was something else entirely, cold intellect incarnate. A living think tank in the form of a glistening silver-skinned humanoid with a disturbingly symmetrical face and eyes that blinked in binary. The Mirror Hive doesn't do impulse. Every movement is calculated. Every sentence is a tactical thesis. They're the kind of species that builds a 1,000-year plan and then sticks to it, religiously. And Sylik was their top strategist. A being whose brain spanned 7 bodies on 3 different worlds at once. A symbiotic entity fused with a quantum hive net, capable of accessing eons of tactical knowledge in real time. He stepped into the arena spine straight, hands behind his back, speaking before Derek even made it to center ring. "I am disappointed. 1 neural center. Crude. Inefficient. Predictable." Derek, who'd been finishing off the last of a vending machine churro, licked his fingers and shrugged. "Yeah, we're not really known for thinking ahead." Sylik tilted his head. Clearly, the fight began. Or rather, should have. Instead, Derek, ever the ambassador of chaos, pulled a colorful plastic cube from his duffel and sat cross-legged on the arena floor. "Want to solve this?" he asked, holding it up. Sylik paused. Now let me be clear, Sylik had downloaded the entire lexicon of ancient warfare and the tactical blueprints of 100 extinct civilizations. But he hadn't seen that. "It is a puzzle?" Sylik asked, approaching. "Yup, human brain teaser. Looks easy. Isn't. Wanna try?" Sylik, for the first time in recorded Mirror Hive history, showed curiosity. He took the cube delicately. 6 faces, rotating axes, color alignment, rudimentary, he muttered, twisting it once. Derek watched him like a hawk. No, like a hawk that had booby-trapped the mouse. See, while Sylik was preoccupied trying to solve the Rubik's Cube and utterly failing, I might add Derek reached into his boot, where he'd jury-rigged a set of wires from a backup battery, some arena debris, and yes, his shoelaces. He waited until Sylik was deep in HFY territory. Then, click. The small, low-voltage net he'd tucked under the arena's loose stones surged to life with a zap that was more annoying than lethal but enough to disrupt Sylik's neural link to the hive. The cube dropped. Sylik stiffened, twitched, and collapsed like someone had unplugged him, which, in a way, Derek had. Kroln in the booth watched it all unfold like a parent witnessing their child outsmart the nanny, the dog, the neighbor, and the fire alarm again. He didn't speak for a while. Just stared. Then slowly, defeatedly, reached for his tablet and muttered, 3. Scribble, scribble. Sylik, incapacitated due to electrical sabotage and minor psychological insult, possibly tricked by toy. He put the stylus down and sighed so hard it fogged up the observation window. They said apex predators, he groaned. Not apex dumbasses. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Senate hadn't been that loud since the Otari delegation accidentally declared war on a species that only communicated through interpretive dance. Now? Well, now it was bedlam. 12 factions demanded an emergency alliance with Earth. 6 more wanted it quarantined behind a gravitational barrier. 2 wanted to launch a preemptive orbital strike, and 1 senator, bless him, just kept yelling, "What is a granola bar?" Kroln sat at the assigned bureaucrat's desk, dead inside. At the center of the chaos was the one responsible for it all. Derek Flint is sitting at the back of the chamber like he'd wandered into a PTA meeting and decided to stick around out of boredom. Feet up, bag of chips in hand. He crunched loudly every time someone said the word threat. Humanity, barked a Blackstherian war envoy, has demonstrated irrational, improvisational superiority. They are dangerous. He is dangerous, corrected a Velrith diplomat, visibly still sniffling. That one. That specific one. He weaponized snacks. A Krugmal general shrieked, holding up a still-wrinkled snack wrapper like it was evidence in a murder trial. We need sanctions. Or at least warning labels. Derek popped another chip into his mouth, then casually offered the bag to the Norg ambassador sitting beside him. She took one. Pretty good, she whispered. Kroln, meanwhile, was handed a data tablet by his supervisor. A final, official request. Psychological analysis, it read, subject, Derek Flint. Purpose, threat classification. He stared at it, then typed one sentence. Do not anger the humans. Ever. He hit send. The tablet shut down with a little chime, almost smug. Derek caught his eye across the room and winked. Kroln reached for his 3rd flask. It was going to be a very long fiscal cycle. There are moments in every bureaucrat's life when they wonder if it's all been worth it. The paperwork. The endless forms. The diplomatic immunities abused like discount vouchers. The species that expressed disagreement by projectile vomiting. For me, that moment came after I filed the last line of the final report on subject, Derek Flint. I stared at the tablet in front of me. My terminal blinked submission complete, and a pleasant chime echoed through the office as if to say, congratulations, you've documented a living paradox. I leaned back in my chair. Joints cracked, antennae drooped. My carapace ached in places I didn't know had nerves. Retirement. It didn't sound so bad anymore. A quiet moon. No sentient neighbors. Just me. A vat of fermented algae, and maybe a slow-paced hobby, like screaming into a canyon, or gardening. Yes, that was the plan. Until I heard footsteps behind me. Hey, Kroln. The voice was unmistakable, annoyingly chipper, full of casual irreverence and dangerously lacking in shame. I turned, and there he was. Derek Flint. Standing in my office like he hadn't turned the most secure military trial site in the galaxy into a slapstick holovid. He was holding 2 bottles. One of them was fizzing. "Want to grab a beer?" I blinked at him. Long pause. moment, that one right there, is going to be studied by sociologists, tacticians, and probably exorcists for centuries. Here's the thing: we built our empires on predictability, on logic, on structure. The Hive had its strategies. The Krug had their brute strength. The Velrith had silence and shadows. And then Earth gave us this absurd, unpredictable, snack-powered disaster wrapped in a hoodie. He didn't plan. He improvised. He didn't fight with honor. He fought to win. And when we threw the worst we had at him, he didn't flinch. He laughed. He laughed. I didn't take the beer. I just stared at him, and he grinned, took a sip himself, and wandered off whistling something off-key and vaguely threatening. I watched him go, and something shifted. No one controlled Derek Flint. No leash, no protocol, no predictable trajectory, which meant something terrifying. What if there were more of him? What if Earth wasn't the anomaly but the standard? What if that was just how humans are? The thought made my stomach turn over in protest. We, the Galactic Coalition, thought we were testing a human. We thought we'd show them their place. We thought we were the ones holding the leash. But that day we learned the truth. We sent monsters to test him, and we found out, too late, that he's the one with the leash.